Welcome to Let's Talk. Where ordinary people are doing extraordinary things. We are live and interactive. With education, spoken word, dating, love, and relationships. Culture. Spirituality. Community. Sports. And politics. Let's talk. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Hey, good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. And as part of our Women's Month and celebrating and highlighting extraordinary women, women of a lot of substance. Not saying that they are. I wish it wasn't just 31 days in the month. So today we have a special guest, Nikiya. I believe Nikiya, how can I say this? We both were on each other's platforms before in reference to a subject matter, but I don't think that I gave her justice the last time she was on my platform with talking about her and what she's got going on. And I think that what she's got going on is something very unique, and I think that more people need to be aware of what who she is and what she's bringing to the table in this thing that we call life. Nikiya, good evening.
Good evening. What's going on?
I don't know. You tell me. Is everything good?
I'm here, okay? We survive in pandemics and stuff. Who would have thought it?
I was thinking about that today. I think today, or the last couple of weeks, been like a year anniversary, and I was at work thinking about it, and I don't know why I had this thought, but I just was like, why was we hoarding toilet paper? Like, was we gonna go to the bathroom the whole time during the pandemic? I mean, if anything should have been out of stock, it should not have been toilet paper. But Nikiya, business at hand and a little fun. Tell the audience a bit about yourself, your background, where you grew up at, and so forth and so on.
So, background to Nikiya, huh? Okay. So, I grew up in the city and in Jersey. I guess you could say mostly in Jersey. I went to junior. I don't never like to say I grew up in Nutley because I just don't like to give that town that much credit. But I went to junior high and high school in Nutley, New Jersey. And all I could say it definitely was an experience, to say the least. To navigate a town such as that, being young, being Black, and then also at that time being from New York, because we moved to Nutley. I was like 10 years old, so it was definitely a culture shock because we went from being in a very diverse area and neighborhood to going into a predominantly white area neighborhood, which happened to be predominantly Italian and Irish. whom did not necessarily like Black people like that. So it was an experience that I could say me and my sister, we traveled through and we lived through it. Um, we learned a lot from it. There were a lot of different battles and struggles that we had to, get through. There was a lot of issues as far as maintaining your identity in a place where there was very few that looked like you. Um, and how do you navigate through stuff like that? So we really had to learn how to do that. And one of the things, like, my parents were so very big on Black history, and I'm Black and I'm proud, right? So we were always grounded at home with learning of ourselves and learning of our culture. And, like, my mother used to have us literally read books on top of the stories that we had to study in school. So when we would go home, we had to, read autobiography of Malcolm X. We had to read on Marcus Garvey. We had to read on, slavery. We did a lot. We did a lot more than what people actually probably knew, which is why I think that's probably part of the reason why I'm such a history buff now and so strong in my views on Black history and Black people. So a lot of that came out of that time, growing up under it was very rigid in Nutley, I'm not going to lie. And it was a little difficult to navigate.
I mean, in retrospect, did you realize like what your parents was giving you back then, like how it would be so important in 2021?
I don't think in my young 10, 11, 12-year-old mind, I even thought of a 2021, right? I knew that it was important for us to understand and know our history, but to see it play out over the years, right? Over the years of growing up. I mean, we had race wars in Nutley. Like, Nutley was ridiculous. You understand? Like, it was, a lot of people say, like, okay, if you can make it out of an inner city school and stuff like that, you can make it anywhere. I would also say that if you can make it through if you can make it through living in the 90s, early 90s, and battling racism the way we did. I mean, I had a young boy basically tell me to my face I wasn't nothing but a nigger, to my face.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a different struggle and it's a different battle because you're literally battling for your identity. Forget everything else. You're literally struggling and fighting with people in order to be recognized as a human being. Because what he basically told me was I wasn't even a human being. I was just a nigger. So when you compound that with the own struggles within your own community, right? Because we grew up in New York, so we were constantly going back and forth from Nutley to New York, from Nutley to New York and stuff like that. So then it's like you're getting the best of both worlds, basically, right? So it was always a constant fight. And I think the way my sister and I internalized it was very different. I became extremely militant. And because I became extremely militant, like, I studied the Black Panther Party because I studied Malcolm X. Like, for me, nothing was peaceful. There was no peace in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not peacefully protesting. You're not going to slap me on one cheek and then think I'm going to give you another, right? So I didn't ascribe to the beliefs of Martin Luther King at all, and Martin Luther King was always shoved down our throats. So for me, I was extremely militant. I was extremely focused, and I was very vocal about it. Like, when Criss Cross came out or whatever, and everybody was sagging their jeans and stuff like that, I was brought down to the principal's office because my jeans were sagging, and they were like, well, you're going to put a rope around your jeans. And I said, I'm not putting a rope around anything. You can't make me. And the principal was like, Nikiya, can you please I said, no, I cannot. So either we're going to stay here or you're going to let me go back to class, but no, I cannot. And then on top of that, I was very militant. Before everybody else started not saluting the flag, I haven't saluted that flag since probably I was in the 7th grade. I stopped standing for it. And once again, my homeroom teacher, because you always had to salute the flag in homeroom and do all of that. And she was like, Nikki, you're going to salute this flag. And I was like, no, I am not. I said, when that flag stands for all people, then I will. Until then, I'm not saluting it. I was 10, 11 years old. So for me, the fight has been ongoing. Like, this is nothing new for me. I've been in that fight. I've been doing it. And I think that that's part of the reason why even today people do not understand my passion against injustice, social injustice, prison reform, criminal reform. Like people don't understand my passion, but it's because I've seen it on a whole different level. And so my ability to understand it and understand what it is, I have a different viewpoint.
Yeah, that's one of the key things that you said is that how when we're younger, this educational system will shove us Martin Luther King. Uh, they'll shove us the people that they think should be our heroes, and nothing against Dr. King. And we know Dr. King's views changed so much during the last 3 years of his life.
Right.
I mean, but they don't want to talk to us about that. And even now, in some black circles, people still are very uncomfortable with talking about Malcolm X, and it's an amazing thing. Like you know, you expect us to be docile, and we have all this history behind us of what happens when we do act docile or when we do turn the other cheek. Nothing gets done, so you can't expect the children of all of these movements. We're literally the children of every living ancestor that we've had. You can't expect us to be passive when it comes to being dealing with injustice. So you talk about your makeup and what got you to your upbringing. Let's talk about this book that later on became a documentary.
Hmm.
What was the birth of the book? What got you to the point of doing this collaboration? And for those in the chat, the name of her book is "When the Soul Cries: Trauma, Tears, and Triumph." Very
So,
if I let me just finish. 17 young ladies collaborated on this book, and it later became a documentary that's still on Amazon. You guys in the chat, where it was just 10 young ladies in the documentary. So we're going to discuss that. So remember, you guys, support Nikiya. Her documentary is on Amazon as we speak. It's called "When the Soul Cries: Trauma, Tears, and Triumph." It was a book first, and then it later on became a documentary where they were actually the actors in their documentary, no one else. So you see these young ladies that put their words on paper and their emotion on paper, and then if you've seen anything about the documentary, it was raw. I didn't get a chance to watch all of it, but it was very raw. Let's discuss that.
so I think that for me and for even the other 16 women, when you go through life, right, and you experience one experience after another, good, bad, or indifferent, but you begin to count up your traumatic experiences, right? And your traumatic experiences in life begin to play a major role in who you are. It begins to play a major role in how you view yourself. It begins to play a major role in how you see yourself. And it also then begins to play a role in how others see you, right? Because a lot of the times, we try to get through these experiences and act like it never happened because that's what we're taught. We're taught to brush it to the side. We're taught to ignore it. We're taught to, just grin and bear it, right? We're taught to, especially as women, we're taught to be strong. You're stronger than that. You're a strong woman. You can handle everything. And it really just became a point where that was like a bunch of bullshit. And sometimes that we just needed to begin to understand that, nah, that hurt. And I need to express that hurt. And so, or, you know what I'm saying? I've been hurting, whatever it was, your traumatic experience is. The 17 of us said, you know what? Nah, we're going to talk about it. And that's how the book came about. The book came about because the founder, so we're all 17 of us are pretty much part of a movement. We call ourselves the Fearless Storyteller Movement. The movement has actually grown. There are about 3 or 4 different classes of fearless storytellers right now. And so what began to happen is that when you begin to tell people that it's okay for them to speak, people will speak. And so that's what the movement is about. The movement is about men and women alike, because there's a whole class for men as well, speaking and telling of their experience in life. So we basically put our experience inside of this book. I detailed an experience that I had at that time that I had just went through. When we were originally writing the book, I literally was about maybe 2 to 3 months post the experience that I had went through with my ex-husband. So that book, me writing it, was a way for me to literally do a brain dump, right? Because a lot of the times you need to dump all that crap. It's like you got to dump it out of your brain. So I took the time to actually write in that book to dump it. And then so I dumped all of it. I mean, the majority of it was chopped and screwed up out of it anyway, because it wasn't like it was just my book. It was with 17 other people. But the basically we kept the meat of the story inside of the book. And then once the book actually came out, which was the book didn't come out until around January of 2019. And then we all decided, like at that time, like, you know what, this is bigger than just us. This is bigger than just a book. Let's film a documentary. And, we took the time to, plan out to get the documentary rolling. And we filmed the documentary like around November of 2019. And then the documentary was just released like right before Christmas of last year. So it was a process. And the documentary it details our process of healing. It's like the book tells the story, but it doesn't detail the healing. The documentary details the process of healing. How do you heal post-trauma? How do you move forward post-trauma? How do you move forward after even telling your story? Because it's like, okay, you told it, and what? Are you really healed? How does this now relate to you and you moving forward and pushing past and, moving into your purpose and also the other extra stuff or whatever? So the documentary came about because we were 17 women. Only 10 of us did the documentary, but we're still telling, truth be told, even though only 10 of us did the documentary, we're still telling 17 people's stories at the same time, because we're all women and we all experience something. So that's what we did, and we had to put it out. That's why we released the documentary. It is on Amazon Prime Video. For anybody that got Amazon Prime Video, you can definitely search it out. It's on Amazon Prime Video. And it's a very powerful documentary because it literally expresses the raw feeling and the raw emotion. How do you heal past being hurt beyond a level that you never thought that you would be hurt? And a lot of the times we don't even understand that, but that's what we had to do. And we had to document that part. And I think that one of the most powerful things about it is that it was 10 women. Well, it was more than 10 of us in the house, but it was a house full of women, a house full of very much so strong and opinionated women with no beef.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's something that you also, you don't even get to see that on the Iyanla. They be arguing and fussing and cussing and carrying on. And that's not what we did, because we came with the purpose of healing, and we came with the purpose of being whole. And we didn't want to go into that house feeling the same way, right? We wanted to leave feeling different. And that's what we did.
Well, I have for everybody in the chat, I have a clip of the trailer that I would like to show. And it got Nikiya at a point in here, she showing some real raw emotion at this one scene, you guys. So, don't be saying y'all ever seen her like this. You'll probably only see her like this one time, and that's in this documentary.
Get your feet.
We're coming together in this beautiful healing house to talk about our journey, but then also how to get to the next level. 10 of the women have come together to talk about the triumph, but also the tears. How did we get to the trauma? What is trauma? Do we understand how to really heal?
We can't erase the experience. That part we can't do. But what we can do is give you tools so that the experience no longer impacts your life.
I do have some broken parts of my life, but it doesn't make up the whole of me.
It is so easy to be used and manipulated by people.
Because I never was told or taught what I was really worth.
For every woman who has experienced the loss of a spouse, process every feeling. Be bold in your grief, but don't stay there.
I thought going into this that one of the biggest rocks I would have picked up to get rid of was rejection, but it wasn't. Because for the life of me, I didn't get it, but I get it now.
You were set free, healed, and delivered from all the demons that has haunted you from your past.
My heart will no longer be broken.
I am no longer invalidated. I do matter.
I will not live by the opinions of others and allow their judgment to dictate the decisions of my own destiny.
I affirm that I will set boundaries for my life.
How long will we carry pain before we make a decision?
My new affirmation is freedom.
When the soul cries, trauma, tears, triumph.
And just allow me to read this real quick. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for the fair use for the purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research for fair use as is use permitted by copyright statute. That might otherwise be infringing because we definitely don't own that footage, but Nikiya's in the footage.
But I do, so it's okay.
I just want to tell you what you young ladies did is amazing. I think that in the age of reality TV, in the age of where we do see some documentaries, and we, one thing that Amazon does is they do try to tell our story a little bit honest and get us to do it. From what I've seen, I think that is an amazing thing what you guys did, and I just think it's awesome. I haven't watched, like I told you, I haven't been able to fully watch the whole documentary. And I think that what you guys did have really set or started the foundation going forward of what you guys knocked out so many stereotypes, like you said, these women not having no beef, let alone you living together, y'all filming together, like, nobody had no big eyes or, big U's. So I really commend you guys. And I hope that a lot of us take advantage of watching this and understanding and being able to heal and get through what we all go through in this thing called life. So let me ask you, when we talk about the emotion of what you were going through, then writing the book, and then doing the documentary, how would I see that emotion? I see some real tears. Those wasn't production tears. Everybody in the chat. How did you get back there? How was they able to pull that back out?
There was an exercise that we did. It was called Cards on the Table. So if you watch the documentary, you'll see it. And everyone had to pull a card. And when you pulled the card, you had to basically you had to say what was on the card, whatever was on the card, and state basically how it related to you. So the raw emotion was in that. It was in the pulling of the card and understanding that it was bigger than what I experienced. I experienced what I experienced with the ex-husband or whatever, and that was that experience. But the reason why that experience happened was because of a bigger issue. And when I pulled the card on the table, that was what that was. And then we did another exercise, which it was, you had to write, basically you had to write a letter to your sister. So the woman who wrote the letter to me, Miss Jenny, she recently passed away. She passed away due to COVID. So like a few weeks, maybe about a month ago. So, but her and I were very close. So her writing the letter to me, and she read it. It was It was very touching. And so the emotion that came about from the entire experience, from the entire weekend that we were all together, that's really where all of that came from. It wasn't like a lot of people, including my sorry ass ex-husband, really thinks that things are about him, but it's not. It's bigger than that experience. I went through that experience with him, but the reason why I was in it really and truly had nothing to do with him. It had more to do with me. He was just like a damn antagonist through in the experience, right? But it really wasn't necessarily about him. It was more or less about me and why I stayed within that realm and why I dealt with it for as long as I dealt with it. And so the entire weekend, it was really focused on us women and us women really, really, really healing. And I think that was important because you cannot, no matter what you're doing in life, you cannot be successful miserable. I don't care how much money people think they're making. When you're miserable, your life literally is unsuccessful. Success is not determined on money. It's really and truly determined on your level of contentment, happiness, how you feel about yourself. And when you're literally miserable and you're hurting every single day, I could come out here and do all the great things in the world, and it's not going to mean nothing to me, which is why, I mean, when you look at it, look at Kate Spade committed suicide. People would think that, oh, she's sitting on top of the world. Why would she kill herself? Because when you're dealing with something that is so hurtful on the inside of you and you can't see no way out, 9 times out of 10, people that commit suicide see no hope for tomorrow, right? And so for us, all of us, all 17 of us, when we wrote our stories, it really was to produce that hope that was supposed to be for tomorrow. And then with the 10 of us that went into doing the documentary, it was to ensure that we would have hope, right? And that's the whole thing. Everything with this thing that we call life, every day is waking up tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And doing something different, doing something better. And that's what we wanted to project. And I believe that's what we got across in the documentary. It's instilling back hope.
Well, we definitely want to say, rest in peace, Miss Jenny. And we definitely know that she left a legacy, not only with you, she left a legacy with us that are going to watch the documentary and know the origin of who this amazing woman was. Not only was she a co-author, your friend, as we say, elder, but she was somebody important to you. So we'll definitely understand the genesis of that. And, even talking to you now and leading up to Nutley, all the way to here, now the what we would say the fun part of the discussion. So Nikiya, for everybody in the chat, and Nikiya is the host, creator, the brains behind her podcast. Her podcast, she goes in, man. Like I said, we both did a show on each other's platform, and she goes in. The muzzle is off. Very interesting name. Let's talk about the origin. What decided? What was the thing that clicked? Like, you know what? I have a story. I have some things I want to discuss. I want to step into this space.
So nobody really knows how the Muzzle is Off podcast came about because I don't really discuss it necessarily. The way how it came about was because I was talking to my friend, I was talking to Doni, and I was saying, I think I really want to do a podcast. And I was like, and I think that there's some things that, we need to bring balance to certain conversations. People always want to talk on one side, but they don't want to talk on all sides. A lot of times we're just so imbalanced. So originally, he was like, okay, when you want to do that? I was like, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it, blah, blah, blah. He was like, all right, I'm going to hold you to it. I was like, what? No, I'm going to hold you to it. I was like, oh, okay. Still not really grasping it or whatever. He was like, when did you want to start it? I was like, oh, I don't know, probably like in June, because this was last year. I don't know, probably like in June or whatever. He was like, okay. So June came, June was coming. He said, so you got the name for your podcast yet? I was like, what? The name for your podcast, you got it yet? I was like, no, I just want to bring balanced conversation. So originally the podcast was going to be called Balance Balls. Or it up, right? Because when you think of a balance ball, it's you got to bring it level, right? So I contacted Adrian. I was like, Adrian, I think, I'm going to do it a podcast and I'm going to call it Balance Balls. That's what it's going to be, Balance Balls Podcast. She was like, Nikiya, in all honesty, if that's what you want to call it, that's fine. But I do not believe that based on your story and where you're coming from, you should not have anything attached to you with the word balls in it. I was like, you might be right, Adrian. You might be right. I was like, although I think that's a little shock jockey, I think I could get that off though. She was like, I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I'm just telling you, as the business strategist, that's probably not you. You probably shouldn't be associated with balls. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. I might not want to be associated with balls in that way. Okay. So then I sat back and she was like, just think about it. I was like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna think about it. All right. So I sat back and I thought about it and I was like, then I'm gonna call it the Muzzle is Off podcast. And I had called Donnie and I was like, you know what? I can't do balance balls because I probably shouldn't be associated with balls like that, just based on my story and also the extra stuff. And, how do people already attack me, call me all types of whores and hoes and shit. So I probably should be balancing balls. He was like, you're probably right. I was like, so you know what? I think it's going to be called the Muzzlers Off podcast because I got some shit to say. And that's how it was birthed. It was birthed out of that. It literally was birthed out of because I literally just said, because I got some shit to say. And whatever I got to say, I'm going to say it. And whether you like it or not, that muzzle is off. So it's going to be what it is. And that's really how it came about. And we've been going since June of last year. You know what I'm saying? And from day one, especially anything as it pertained to, the podcast and all other extra stuff, Donnie literally had been like the number one support for it, like everything. What do you need? What do you got to do? How, if I needed to like run an idea, like, what do you think about this? Boom. You know what I'm saying? And I've always felt that, when you have friends like that, you cherish good friends, right? Because when you go through so many years of not necessarily having the best of friends, so when you find a friend like that, you don't take them for granted. And he's been a major part of, just like everything and just always like pushing. And, if people ever listen to the podcast, you'll hear like a lot of people that I've interviewed literally have come from, him connecting me like, what, you need to get with her. You need to get with him. You need to do this, that, and the third. I think that'll be dope energy and this, that, and the third. And you'll hear them. They'll come on the podcast and be like, Donnie hooked us up. And you know what I'm saying? It's just been dope ever since and blah, blah, blah. And I think that that's important in anything that you do, that, people support you and people push you. And, some days I don't feel like it, to be completely honest, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that, you still have yet this push and you still have yet that drive, because sometimes I like, as much as the muzzle came off, sometimes I get tired of talking.
Yeah, one of the things is that is interesting. For those in the chat, podcasters have a unique. I'm not going to say we're different, but we have a very unique mind. We're always thinking. Everything, we're perfectionists. We try to be perfectionists in what we're doing. And like Nikiya said, is that when you step into the unknown, when you're not quote unquote a celebrity and you're starting from the organic space, you start to get people that you never really knew or that start coming your way. Like she said, Donye has been there for her. And it's like, wow, I stepped into this journey and I'm meeting all these new people and they supporting. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Not even that. Like, honestly, once I said I wanted to do a podcast, he immediately connected me to Kay. He said, you got to reach out. You got to speak to her. She know all about that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Kay was like, here's lighting. Here's the type of lighting you would need. Here's the type of microphone that you would need. You might need this, or you might need and it was automatic. There was no, when you get connected to people and people like, oh, I ain't gonna tell you all my secrets. No, it was none of that. It was definite help right along the way. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciated that, because that's why I said everybody whom he connected me to, it was literally organic. It was nothing forced. It was nothing that, you know what I'm saying, that you needed to work at. Everybody was just like, you know what, we got dope energy together, boom. And even to this day, Kay will shoot me a text message and be like, Kia, what about this? What you think about that? And I'm like, you know what, that's a dope idea. Let me write that down. So it's like everybody feeds off of each other, and nobody is worried about the next person or some type of competition and all this other extra stuff. Everybody's out here working, and everybody wants to do what they're doing in their lane. And whether our lanes cross or not, we still in our lane anyway.
It's a weird but fun. Like I always say, it's a weird but fun, beautiful space. The network of podcasters, I've met probably 5 or 6 who I like. I always try to tell people the least that you can do for a podcaster, somebody that's in this podcasting space, is like, share, subscribe. And I know that most people get tired of podcasters saying this, but believe it or not, the like, share, and subscribe is everything to trigger the algorithms, or whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. They're all based off of algorithms. So to get Nikiya's message out there, to get my message out there, I see my man Munch. He started a podcast a couple weeks ago. To get our messages out there, you have to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. And it's funny. You really get a lot of help. You get a person like you say, KK, will call you. Get this microphone, because you're always going through mic issues. It's always with the background issues. So when you talk about the days like that we all have, like, you'd be like, I don't feel like talking. How are those days that you don't plan the show and you don't feel like it, and then that show is like awesome, and you get that adrenaline rush and you be fired up after the show? Tell the chat about that, even though I done said it, but tell the chat about that feeling.
So 9 times out of 10, when the muzzle's off, I'm always sipping something. And the only reason why I'm not sipping tonight is because I got stuff to do after this. But typically when the muzzle's off, I'm always sipping something. So on the days when I really and truly don't feel like it, and then it just becomes something just so dope, 9 times out of 10, it has to do with whomever I brought on to do the show with me. So, because we both can't be here. Somebody got to be here, so then I rise up. Or if they here, because sometimes some of y'all guests be coming on and y'all be right here. And then I got to be like up here with it to bring the energy, because you over here and you don't want to come up either. So it's like I got to be all over the top and extra with it and laugh and crack jokes just to get you to even smirk. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's the balance, but then afterwards, and I'll be like, and somebody will hit me, or a few people will hit me. Yo, that was so dope. Yo, that was this, that, and that. I'm like, all right, that's what's up then. Because the truth of the matter is, even if I don't feel like it, I still have to do it, because whoever's watching, somebody's going to be watching, and they're going to be blessed by it, whatever it is. Whether it means that they were having a real rough day and we got on here and cut up a whole fool and they just start smiling and they laughing and they joking with it, or the fact that we talking about something that really hits home and a person's like, yo, that really touched my heart. I'm so happy that you said that. Whatever it is, because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to talk about something, few somethings, and it's going to resonate with somebody. You know what I'm saying? And I like that, because I just think that that's important for everybody. Everybody's going through something right now. We got a lot. I feel that for what we do, it's like a way of escape for some people. So we give them an avenue to escape. Like with you with the poetry, you know what I'm saying? I've caught the poetry a few good times. On a few, I like that, I like that erotic poetry. I love it. I just think it's so sexy and so smooth. And so some nights when you like, oh, that's real smooth. You single over here and they over here like, they like playing with the good words, like you know what I'm saying? It's like having word sex or something like that. You know what? We should have a game like that. There should be a game called word sex. You know what I'm saying? You got words with friends, not word sex with friends. Let's get this popping. And it worked, but it works though, you know what I'm saying? Because it brings that another level to the game. And somebody might be, I don't know, missing out on some intimacy and they can come and hear some word sex and be like, yes. And they might, I don't know, some people got toys. I don't believe in toys. I don't think they sanitary. That's just my own personal opinion. But people been like, got their toy out and got happy. And you don't cause somebody to have a whole orgasm or for word sex.
And now they want to watch poetry every Tuesday.
You know what I'm saying?
They don't plan the session.
Word sex, and then boom, word sex, then toy, and they happy. And sometimes that's what's needed. Like that. That's the part that I don't think. Like sometimes when we thinking about the stuff that we just doing it right. Like when I started After Dark, I wasn't thinking about nothing. I was just like, you know what? Nah, let's do sex, love, lies, lust, and all things, whatever. After Dark, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? And it was successful. I think that. Sometimes you gotta have those raw conversations. How you like it? You like having sex raw? You need to have those types of conversations. You know what I'm saying? And we don't. But we only had those conversations after dark.
Yeah, we don't. It's funny that you said that sometimes we know that a lot of people tune in because we are the outlet. About 5 years ago, I used to love watching the news. I was a news junkie coming up. And I stopped watching the news because it was so depressing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the last time I really watched the news is when those cops in Dallas got killed. And I would always watch the news at least an hour or 2 hours a day, but I stopped doing it then. I might catch 5 minutes at the most. And I realize now, being the space that we in, like, Twitter, YouTube, it's a certain things that we just won't touch with. I even pulled away from Instagram. I would rather watch a podcast than watch somebody's Instagram because I watched one of your podcasts, you and Molly, I think. Oh, y'all have me in tears. Y'all have me in tears. I was literally in tears. Like,
that is my friend, and we go
yeah, because when you go to a certain spot in space, and like you say, the muzzle was off that night when I was like, oh my goodness. And he, you was, I ain't gonna say you was egging him on. Y'all were just having a very, very raw conversation.
As we supposed to. And you know what? That's part of the reason why the muzzle came off. Like it's like not that I came out of the church world, but like a lot of people know, like, you know what I'm saying? I was married to a bishop in the church world, right? So let me put that in air quotes, bishop, because that's real fake for him. But he walks around with that title. So, we did, a lot of things like as far as the church was concerned. And I'm still the same person. I'm still an intercessor. I'm still a prayer warrior. I'm still an elder, all of that. But at the same time, what I'm not going to be is fake for nobody. And if I have an opinion, I'm going to state it, whether you agree with it or not. And I think what began to happen was that when you're walking in that realm, it's like, no, you can't talk about that. No, you can't say this. No, you just gotta okay, just pray about it. And I'm like, I'm not praying about a motherfucking thing. Like, no, I'm not. I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to use all of the good words that I have learned through the years because I know how to speak, and I'm going to put some words to it. And that's really the reason why when I laid back and I said, it's the Muzzles Up podcast, because you know what? I'm not going to be hindered anymore. People really used to tell me, don't say this, don't say that, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, stop posting this, stop. And now that the muzzle came off, don't nobody come on Nikiya's page. They don't call my phone no more. They don't text me talking about don't say this because the muzzle came off. So the message is already out there. You know?
It's funny you said that because one day you guys in the chat, I was looking at Nikiya's page, and all I can say is if you're religious, if you practice organized religion, Nikiya is going to test your belief or faith. And she was going in one day, and I was like, whew. And I don't discuss religion per se, because I'm more of the type of person that I don't want to offend nobody. But you were like going hammer, and I was like, and all I kept saying was, "Oh my goodness, she be going in." And I never asked you why you are the way you are, but now since you told me your ex husband was a bishop, I understand why you say what you say, and you have every right to say what you say. Not
And I say
saying
what I say because I actually do read the Bible. And I'm just convinced that some people don't necessarily read it. They just know what they've been told that it says, right? So for me, if you're going to refute me, you better be sure that you're coming correct for me. And a lot of people, I think I don't test them. They like to come on my post and test me because they swear I don't know what I'm talking about. And 9 times out of 10, right, what people fail to understand is if I posted it, I already know it. So you coming up with my post to basically argue with me, and I would literally sit there and I would literally have my Bible open and be like, well, go here because it says that. And what about that? And then what about that? Well, oh, how about this? Oh, that's what you believe? Oh, okay, but it says this. Well, what is the original translation of this word? Because if you take it back to the Greek, what does this mean? Well, what does this mean? I mean, this one dude tried to, he was so out of this world. He was like, well, in the Hebrew, that word is this. I said, well, the original text wasn't written in Hebrew, it was written in Greek. So what are you saying? So you just kind of like, they be trying to test me. I just be posting what I'm posting, and then they like to come on me and disagree. Like this one lady, I have said something about soul ties, and she was all, I think if she wore thongs, they were clearly all up in her butt, and she was so upset. And then she had the audacity to share my post shared my post so she could disagree with it on her page. So I went right on her page and said, and I still said what I said. I don't care. Right?
That's funny you brought that up, because I always tell people, like, I think people look at social media as a way to argue, and we're not arguing. We want discussion. You're a person that wants your personality from I'm not gonna say you're from the podcasting world. You've bought into the podcasting world. Anything that you post, it's about discussion. You're not even saying, if you, like you said, you just did the research and you might just post it. You might not even agree with it. And a person will be like, no, I don't, I disagree with you. You're wrong. You'd be like, I don't agree with this. I just want a discussion. Let's just have a conversation. And it's amazing how my son told me this a couple years ago. I said, yo, why you ain't on Facebook no more? Now he's back on Facebook. I said, yo, what's up? He said, Dad, Facebook ain't nothing for older people to argue. And I said, yo, why would you say that? He's like, yeah, all people do is want to argue. And when you think about it, like, yo, we having a discussion. Like, well, we don't need to argue. Like you say, you in your situation, like, you live this life. You know what the ins and out is, and I mean, you, like I said, you go hammer.
I mean, I don't necessarily, I don't be trying to, but when they be trying to test my good G, and I'm like, if I ain't get tested like that in the street, what you not about to do is test me now here. So, okay, let's do it then. And then they get all upset. I do it. Like one of my friends, she'll post up something that she know I don't agree with, right? And some days I just ignore the stuff, and then other days I just feel like, you know what, I don't care, I'm jumping these comments. And I jumps in the comments, and then she was like, Nikiya, why you always gotta do that? People be calling me, they inboxing me. Did you see what she said? I said, tell them to at me. Just tell them to at me. Tell them to stop calling you and at me. If they don't agree with what I said, if they have a problem with it, tell them to at me. People don't at me because, like I said, if I'm commenting on something and I have a strong opinion about it, 9 times out of 10, I could back that thing up.
I'm gonna just give everybody that's watching a little tidbit, a little. I'm gonna just give them a little taste of the world that you're in.
Okay.
This young lady is a content creator. If you could remember that definition and remember what I just told y'all, she's a content creator. It's not a shit starter. It's a content creator. She may tell you her favorite color is red all day long, but her favorite color could actually be blue. But because she know that it's gonna get content, this is what we do. We love the discussion. If you tell me to go right, I want to know why I can't go left. What's the difference? So realize that that being in this space, the podcast world, the YouTube channel world, is that we love. Nikiya explained that sometimes we don't want to talk, but most of the time we just want discussion because what are we, Nikiya, again? Sapiosexuals.
Yeah.
So we love to
we like intellectually stimulating conversation. And and if people don't, first of all, and let's talk about that briefly, because some of y'all that be trying to inbox me, you can't even hold a real good conversation. So I don't understand why in the world, if you can see I believe that people could look at people's Facebook page 9 times out of 10, you're going to tell the type of person that they are based on what they post, how they comment. You know what I'm saying? What do you see, right? And some of y'all, if you can see that I literally do hold, I mean, I joke around too, because y'all know I will crack a good joke in a minute. But 9 times out of 10, I might post something that might be intellectually stimulating. What the hell makes you think that I want to answer your inbox? Yo, what's up, beautiful? Sir.
Well, I just want to. I just want to say that I've heard this, what you just said, from numerous amount of women, and I'm just gonna say, brothers, colleagues, friends, brothers, please step y'all games up, please, because that's all you ever hear. If you got sisters, and they'll be honest with you, that's all you ever hear is men don't got nothing, no substance conversation. Like that's all they want to do is send these pics and all this crazy stuff, and say how you doing, beautiful, how your day, nothing like that. Lead.
And I can get that as a conversation starter, but if depending upon if I choose to respond, right, you better come with something else. What you doing? Well, it's a Tuesday and it's 2:00, so I should be working. Working. I hope you're not working too hard.
Oh boy.
Like, where does this stuff come from? Don't work too hard. Are you gonna pay these bills up in here? What do you mean don't work hard? Are you not a hard worker? Are you not passionately working?
With that, you guys, because we got some content for a couple shows right there. We gonna
oh, it's ladies' night on the podcast Wednesday. Y'all already know I can't wait.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out Nikiya's podcast. It's called The Muzzle is Off. Every Wednesday is ladies' night, and you know, with that, we're gonna allow Nikiya to handle her business for the night. And I really appreciate you joining me tonight, Nikiya. And it's been a pleasure. Women's Month.
Yes, it is.
And we want to say, keep doing what you're doing, and you're definitely making an impact in our society.
You know, that's what we're here to do. We're here to, you know what I'm saying, change the world, as they say. So I want to thank you for having me on. I really thank you. I thank you for putting the spotlight on us women this month. I really appreciate it. I think that it is imperative as a Black man that you're doing what you're doing. So I hope everybody truly is supporting Let's Talk. I hope everyone definitely does like, share, and subscribe. You know what I'm saying? To be sure that you keep your content out there. Because like I said, I enjoy it all. Except for ESPN night. Because I don't understand none of that stuff. It's the only night I don't listen to.
Yeah, my one night, Let's Talk After Dark. That got kind of crazy. YouTube ain't accept the video. I think I titled it wrong. I titled it crazy. I titled it based off the conversation, and I don't think they really let the algorithm run through it because we didn't go too far. But I'm gonna try to bring her back on. That was a very interesting night.
I'm gonna need you to title it right.
I think I think what I'm gonna do is next time I talk to her, which right now she's taking a little hiatus, I'm gonna link up with you because you and her having a conversation, two women, woo, woo, woo that could be interesting. Because I'd be kind of like not wanting to go there, and everybody said to me,
we want to be laid back. No, after dark is after dark.
That's what everybody said to me. They was like, "Yo, you was asking some passive questions." I'm like, "Yo, I do have some, respect." Well, as it is after dark, you could ask the questions. Yeah, even she said that to me. You didn't ask the questions, but But anyway,
it's not disrespectful when it's nothing. Listen, like I told people, when they come after dark, nothing's off limits. Everything goes after dark. Now, if it's a 7 p.m. show, and you might not, and even then, I probably don't necessarily care. But when it's after dark, it's raw. Let's go.
So with that, everybody in the chat, we're going to close the show. And thanks everybody for joining. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and have a blessed night.